Alright. What are we doing today? Oh, right, the final suit up video. Yeah, yay. Woo! Hello everyone, my name is Kier Creates, and we are doing part 2 of my suit up video review. So if you haven't checked out the last part, I suggest you go check it out because in that part we go fully in depth on the suit. If you haven't checked out part 1 already, I don't know why you're in part 2 without checking out part 1. So please go check out that video if you haven't already before you check out this one where we're going to actually be talking about the company itself. So I'm going to be so real with you guys. I've been kind of dreading making this video only just because I'm kind of done because I've been wanting to make this whole suit up video for about over a year now. Now it just kind of feels like an obligation, so we're gonna power through this, get through it, because we got some interesting interviews to go through, and at the end of the video I will give my final verdict and if I do recommend you buy from Suit Up. So in this video we're gonna be going over my previous experience with Suit Up because I did try to buy a suit from them in the past, as well as a couple interviews with some other people's experiences, 2 from actual customers, and then 1 from another influencer, because I wanted to try and get all sides of the story that I could. So that included getting the influencer experience, getting the normal customer experience, because I wanted to see if influencers were treated any different when it comes to quality control, when it comes to customer service, than a normal person would. But before I go over my previous experience with Suit Up, I would like to mention a couple things just to give you a bit of background on the company itself. So Suit Up was founded about 2 years ago now by Aaron Alexandro, who is on his own making suits for people, and Victor from Vatsy Studios, who is a small company also making suits for people. To start up with Aaron, he was making suits, like I said, on his own. From what I've been told, when he was doing a lot of stuff on his own, he was undercharging himself and he basically kind of overloaded himself where people were waiting and the quality wasn't up to snuff to where he wanted and where his customers wanted it. I have handled one of Aaron's suits in the past, which I did make a video on if you want to check that out. There was some quality control issues, and so Aaron teamed up with Victor in order to make Suit Up, which Victor and Vatsy Studios have a bit of a history because they have made suits where Suit Up also had problems with delivery times, quality issues, stuff like that. Vatsy Studios also suffered from that. And from what I've heard, the customer experience was even worse. Now, I've never bought from Vatsy Studios, so I'm basically going off of what other people have told me. So if I'm incorrect about that, then alright, but if I am correct, well, that's what I've been told. Vatsy Studios has since shut down since Suit Up is an entity now, and they've worked together in order to try to increase their quality, try to decrease their wait times, and to try and be better business people, which they have admitted to me in DMs that they kind of sucked at being business people. So hey, points for accountability. I really appreciate that. But as I go over these stories, we'll make the determination or not if Suit Up has improved over their past mistakes or not. And without further ado, let's go over my previous experience with Suit Up. And if you end up liking this video and whatever, make sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video if you liked it, if you found it informative, that kind of stuff. So let's just move into that. So I entered Aaron Alexandro's No Way Home Far From Home suit run, which was basically the upgraded suit from Far From Home, but I specifically wanted the version from No Way Home, which had the more comic style belt with the web lines. And so I was in that run with Aaron Alexandro, and then delays were happening with that, and then Suit Up was founded. And that run got handed over to Suit Up. So starting off in February 2024, where I first got in contact with Suit Up after the runs were handed over to them. I asked for the status of my suit because at this point in time, I already ordered a few months ago and I acknowledged that Suit Up did get the run. And then I didn't get a reply for about 6 days. They said, hey, we've been moving forward with the face shells from the run, but Aaron has not given them the full information on the suits. So this kind of became a running theme as like an excuse of what was going on. I was very understanding because I understood it was a new company and things were still being moved over and that can be an absolute hassle. So I was trying to be as understanding as I could. But it still feels to this day a little odd that they had to wait so long for like the files and whatever information they needed from Aaron for those suits, because you think you'd have paying customers, that stuff would have been handed over ASAP because these were customers still waiting on suits. Their reasoning is that Aaron was busy with his studies at school. I can get that, but at the same time, I don't think it would take that long. Then they mentioned that they were working on the Miles Morales and advanced suit runs, which were fully under suit up, so they were able to work on those while they were waiting on the information from Aaron. I shared my concerns. I shared how weird I thought it was, and that I was also in a Discord server where a lot of customers from Aaron and from Suit Up were being put to get like mass status updates on everybody's orders in one place. I don't think it was a bad idea, so that way everybody could get informed at once, having to go to everybody individually. People were starting to get restless in that Discord server because people were waiting and we were not being updated. I was being lighthearted about the situation, and I did make Suit Up aware that I would be talking about this particular story in the video whenever I would receive the suit, and they promised me that as soon as I get the information needed, they will move as quickly as possible on the Far From Home and No Way Home suits. Then they messaged me a little while later telling me that Aaron did give them the information finally, and I wanted to ensure I was getting the No Way Home variant with the belt, so I asked that, and they never opened the message. And then a while later, towards the end of April, I replied to their story making a joke about how they had my suit on display. Haha, very funny. Because like at this point, I'm just kind of making lighthearted jokes just to like see if I could get easier updates on my order rather than trying to be like super aggressive, whatever. I'm a very patient man. They told me they're working on the 3D models for urethane molds. Okay, whatever. Thanks for the update. And then I don't hear anything about it for a couple months. And then I messaged them again in June. I heard something that the bands were being finished and that there was possibility of suit shipping out by Friday, and they said that they're still testing band stuff like that, so that kind of implied that it was not going to be ready to ship by that Friday. I messaged them a little less than a month later asking about how my suit was going, and they let me know that all the fabrics and accessories were pretty much done. They just were still waiting on getting the bands fully developed. Then I asked for pictures of my suit so far, and then they said sure, we'll let you know during the week. I mentioned how I'm hoping it comes before New York Comic Con, and they asked when that con is. I said October, and then they did not reply to that. Then I asked again for an update for the pictures 2 days later, and they didn't reply until a day later. And then they said once we finish reorganizing the suits, they'll send the photos. Then 5 days later, they said, hey there, we have news about your order. We will send you info. And then they just let me know that there was more delays in the bands, and they were in the final testing stages. Still not pictures, but okay. And then communication kind of stopped for a while because I asked them what things were looking like. There was a date being thrown around that would be shipped on July 26th, so I asked about that. Nobody got back to me until the 24th. They let me know that the new molds for the urethane bands were being printed, like all that fun stuff, and I once again asked for pictures, and then they only gave me pictures of what they're working on for the bands. They never sent me pictures of the suit. Then they said we'll send more progress photos for the week. Spoiler alert, did not. I messaged them again in August, but about a different suit run just because I was purely curious about something. And then I asked on the 28th of August, can I get pictures of my suit? And then they said we posted photos of the Far From Home suit and the run is in working progress. I knew that, and they were supposed to send me pictures of my suit. And then on 9/11, okay, I asked if the suits were on track to ship in a few days because I once again heard, I believe it was in the Discord server. I wish I had those screenshots because I'm not in there anymore. And I also wanted to make sure that the shell was coming with my suit too, because I had a couple friends actually tell me that their suits shipped without their shells, so I want to ensure that didn't happen to me. And I once again asked for pictures to ensure that. And then they replied to me same day saying that the costumes are still in the making process, and they said it would take a couple more weeks. So a couple more weeks from the 11th, we're talking about these suits shipping at the end of the month or early October. So that's the new time frame after it being moved like 2 or 3 times. I asked on the 27th then because it's been a couple weeks, so that should be about when it should ship, and they said the bands were being sewn together. And then I messaged on October 11th. And then they said straight up from October 11th, they said the Far From Home suit will be sent after approximately 2 weeks. And then November 1st rolls around, we don't hear anything, and then I asked, replying to like a story post or something like that, if that means ours are ready. And Suit Up said, well, they're working to send out the second and third batches of the suits in the upcoming following week. So once again, the deadline has been pushed back. And then I asked at the end of November, how are the suits looking? And then they said, we don't have an estimated date anymore. And then I wait 2 more months. I'm starting to get a little impatient now because I've been waiting for over a year for this suit now. So January 2025, I message what's the status of Far From Home suit run. No one replies. I message again on the 16th with a question mark. They apologize for not replying to the message. And he said, sorry, we didn't answer the message. It's being sent in order. Whatever that means. They said that they shipped 9 and we're going to ship 4 more that week. And then I asked for pictures again. And then they said they'll send pictures tomorrow because they're not in the workshop. So then over a month later again, I haven't heard anything between those. It's February 25th. I say hello. They said hello. And I said, one of those upgraded suits wouldn't happen to be mine, would they? No response. March 4th. So I need my money back. They took too long on the suit, and I just wanted my money back because, one, I had something going on at the time, and also it took like 1.5 years since my order about. And then after a while of no communication, after I say this, it conveniently kind of became the next suit in line. It could have been coincidence. It could not have been. A little odd to me. But instead of refunding me right away, they did a thing where they basically sold it to someone else and then gave me the deposit back after they sold it. So they basically gave me their money, like whatever. I did get my refund at least. So that was my first experience with SuitUp. Not great. I waited 1.5 years for a suit because I originally ordered it before SuitUp was founded from Aaron. It was handed off. There was miscommunication there and they didn't get the information they needed. And then it just kept being like a back and forth like, oh, mostly about the excuses with the urethane bands and whatever, getting this developed. And no one has ever sent me pictures of the suit I was supposed to receive when they kept saying they would. So that old experience I had was a bad customer experience. I was pretty distrustful of SuitUp for a good long while, especially after hearing other people's stories, my own story. I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed because I really wanted that suit. I'm just happy that they were able to give me a refund. I've heard people say that they didn't get refunds. Now, a year later, they had the brand new day suit launch. I still wanted a replica Tom Holland suit. I was like, you know what? I want to give it another shot, and I really want to make a video on SuitUp and put my money where my mouth is before I do. And that experience went a lot smoother. They got the suit done in 4 months. They were very communicative with me, and it just was a better overall experience than the last time because when I first wanted to order the suit, I was straight up with them. It's like, y'all, before I even give you money again, I want to know, are you going to be more communicative? Are you going to have better deadlines? And are you going to get this to me in a timely fashion before the movie comes out? So that way I can get my video done. I can get promo done. Because the typical wait time for a replica suit in my past experience, it took me 9 months for Spider-Labs for my TASM 2. And it took me 1 year for my Raimi suit from Elfet. Like 9 months was typically what I was expecting for this. So, I mean, I was fine with like a bit of a wait. But they got the suit done in 4 months and they got it done with a bunch of other clients at the same time. So, I didn't just receive my suit in a good time. A lot of other people did as well. So, my experience with SuitUp definitely improved the second time around. I don't know if it's because I was treated like an influencer, or I don't know if it's just because they just have gotten better in general with communicating and getting things done. But there are still people waiting on Civil War suits as far as I know, but they are posting updates on that, but I don't know how they're communicating with those customers because I don't know anyone who is in those runs with the Civil War suit. So that makes it hard for me to discuss that. So yeah, my first experience with SuitUp was pretty rough. My second one, much better, but I think that's enough from my personal experience with SuitUp. Let's hear what some other customers have to say from SuitUp, just so that way you get a fuller picture of what's going on here, starting with Tommy. So I want to hear more about your experience since, like, you mentioned you had to wait 5 years for this.
And this originally wasn't supposed to be a No Way Home Final Swing suit.
Really?
Yeah, so that's a whole entire different story, which I will get into.
Okay.
But basically what had happened was I was still in college.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I'm 25. I was 20 at the time. Aaron Alexandro, who founded SuitUp. Aaron Alexandro had done this run for the Homecoming, the Far From Home suits.
Yep.
And at the time, they were like $400 a suit. Like, they weren't like $1,300 like they were.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can afford that, so I'll buy 2 of them. And like, I make suits. Like, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I don't take commissions for suits, but like I make them for myself.
Yeah.
I know how much work goes into making them. So like I wasn't telling Aaron when he was running it himself as a one-man team.
Yeah.
I wasn't telling him like, hey, I need this in like 2 months. I was like, no, chill, dude. Like I know exactly how much work this takes. You know, if you get it to me in a year, if you get it to me in 2 years, I don't care. You know, I know that, you know, I I basically told him, like, I know that I paid nothing for this. So, you know, just have fun, and I'll get the suit whenever you're done.
Okay.
Delays came. More and more, where it's like, hey, we're testing out silicone bands, we're testing out urethane bands, we're testing out altering the patterns of the suit and all that. They were going through a lot of R&D at the time. So it's like after 3-4 years, I got my homecoming suit. And by that time, this is me being jokey here, but like I weighed a little bit less. So it's like, you know, I'm 180 pounds. I weighed like 145 pounds at the time. So I gained like 35 pounds.
Yeah.
So I could not fit in the suit.
Yeah.
Not calling myself fat. I don't think I'm fat.
No, I don't think so.
But, you know, that's just a symptom of what happened. So I ended up selling the suit. Quality was fine. Very, very similar to this.
Okay, that's good.
If anything, it was a little bit better than this because the design just didn't allow the bricks to kind of like crack like that.
Yeah.
With that being said, I waited another 1.5 years for my Far From Home suit. But at the time, like they had it fully made. I think they sent me photos of it. But I think they had some like curing inhibition issues with like the strapping or something like that. Like the glue wasn't holding or something happened.
Okay.
And then I got a message from Aaron saying like, hey, we're having a lot of trouble with the Far From Home run. Would you like to switch to the No Way Home run?
Okay.
And I said, sure. You know, I was like, you know, I like the No Way Home Fountain suit more than the Far From Home suit.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, man, you know, totally understandable. Again, not being antagonistic at all. I never talked to Aaron and be like, dude, what the hell? Where is this? Never. Because like I know how it is, but it's like I never like went to the community and like blew the whistle or anything like that. You know, it's just like, you know, I think when I told people that I waited 5 years for the suit, yeah, that's true, but I wasn't like poking and prodding them like all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. But again, like I knew the suit was going to fit me.
Yeah.
I knew that I was going to eventually sell the suit, which I did. Like the suit is no longer mine. Like I still need to replace the shoes on it to fit the new buyer.
Yep.
But and fix the web shooter.
Yeah.
But I knew I was going to sell it, so I was like, dude, just take your time.
Fair enough.
And then the people from Suitup got in touch with me. They said, hey, Aaron told talked to us. They told us that you were going to do the No Way Home final swing run. And then they got me the No Way Home suit in like the span of 6 months.
So when they
7
started
months?
producing this to you getting it, that's about 6 months, you said?
I would have to check. I don't know the exact timeline, so I don't want people to say, oh, it took another 6 months. But it took a couple months.
Yeah, so separating the entire wait time between the initial order versus the production of the suit. So basically we're looking at about 6 and maybe 8 month range for production on that. Between them starting production on this to getting it in your hands.
I don't want you to quote me on that.
Okay.
But I would say that sounds about right.
Estimation, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's not horrible, especially for the fact I've waited 9 months for the Amazing Spider Labs and a year for my Spidey Planet suit. So when it comes to like replica, like suit level stuff, that seems about right for wait times. Like I waited 4 months for this.
Yeah.
Which is really good for replica wait times.
And it seems like that Suitup's, again, their design philosophy and their construction philosophy depends on like the design that they're doing itself. Like these suits, this style of suit seems to take a lot longer than it takes to produce like their PS5 suit. Like I remember when their PS5 suit came out, and people were getting their suits like that. You know, they were getting it like 1 month, 2 months.
Yeah, I was seeing that too. I was like, oh, I kind of want in on that.
So I'm not sure if it's like it's just faster to do some designs than other designs.
Yeah.
But again, like if you go to Amazing Spider Lab, like their communication might be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But you're still going to be waiting months. That's my relationship with Suitup. Again, I have nothing against the company. I feel like that they've really improved their design philosophy, their production, and the quality of their work. I can't testify to their customer service because I just haven't talked to them in a while. I don't know, like, say I wanted this suit for New York Comic Con and I were to order it today. I don't know what that communication would be like over the next couple months.
That was a similar situation what I had through that whole 5 year process. Communication with them, how was that?
Well, I didn't talk to Suitup. I talked to Aaron.
Oh, Aaron.
From what I remember, again, you're talking about like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like a lot's happened in 5 years. From what I remember, sometimes I'd message him, I wouldn't hear back for like a couple days. And then he would like send me like a voice message saying like, hey man, this is what's going on, you know, that sort of thing. He never not responded to me, but it took a while.
So they've been at least like letting you know what was going on. They've been at least getting back to you because 3 to 5 business days is about typical for a lot of businesses. So that's typically the scale I go on.
Again, you're talking to people like internationally.
Yeah.
Like Amazing Spider Lab is in Italy, Suitup's in Peru. But in my philosophy, like if you commission something for me, if you message me, I get back to you in 24 hours.
Yeah, that would be the gold standard.
So because like again, you paid me money, especially when you pay me like this much money. I gotta talk to you. That's my opinion. That's how things should be run. But again, I build these suits. Like I might not have like the same resources that these guys do, but I know exactly how much work goes into them. So I give them a little bit more leeway. This is also a message to Suit Up too. Like I've heard stories of like, especially in the Power Ranger community, Enoc Cosplay, who is like the main, like one of the most well-known like Power Ranger suit makers. When he first started out, his suits would take like up to 8 years.
I've heard that.
That might be an exaggeration. He's greatly improved his suit production time. From what I hear, I've never ordered from him. But now, like on his Etsy shop, again, Suit Up probably should have an Etsy shop.
Probably.
Where there's an expedited option where it's like, hey, if you pay an extra $200-300, then you can get the suit like in 2-3 months. That would be a great idea for Suit Up.
That sounds like a pretty good idea.
Hey, if you want to lock in your suit, if you have a Comic-Con, if you have a photo shoot, if you have a film shoot that you want to do by this time frame, pay another $200, add more to your profit margin, we'll get it to you now. But yeah, that's my story with Suit Up. And I think that's in my personal opinion, I think that when I said that, that I waited 5 years, I think some people kind of took that headline and be like, oh, this guy waited 5 years. And to be honest, it is true. Aaron was a one-man team at the time. I paid $400 for the suit. That's a big one. It's like I paid like $800. I paid less than an RPC studio suit.
And those runs were having issues to begin with.
Technology and resources weren't there at the time. It's not an easy thing to do, and it's a very time-consuming thing to do. It's not like you sew it and then you're done. It's like there's a lot more that goes into it.
So the whole situation with Suit Up, with all the controversy stuff, it's much less black and white than like what people hear and say.
Right. And this is my personal opinion. Knowing like what Suit Up's turnaround times are now and what their quality is like now, I would order from them today. I can see the comments now going like, he waited 5 years and then like he's still willing to buy from them. Anyone who says that have clearly never made a suit in their life.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
And I want you to put that in the video where it's like, I'm very, very serious. It's like, if you never made this, or if you never made this, like, it's not like you throw money at the problem and it goes away. Thank you so much to Tommy, aka Equinox Cosplay, for giving me his experience with Suit Up. If you want to follow him, all of his socials will be down below. And it did give me a little more insight to why he had to wait 5 years and why a lot of other customers had to wait so many years for suits. It's not an excuse to wait, because that is still a crazy time frame to wait for a suit. But at least I understand what was happening behind the scenes a little more, that they weren't able to make the suits to the quality that they wanted because it was complicated and they didn't have the resources to do it. And that they were able to give him the option to change to another run of the suits, so that way he could get a suit that was up to their quality that they had the capability to make. And not to mention the fact that you probably shouldn't be offering suits that you can't make properly in the first place, and that you haven't done the R&D for, which luckily Suit Up has changed, but not a great idea. Again, it doesn't excuse what happened, but this is Tommy's experience. This is how he feels about it, because I know that there are some people that have been waiting years for Suit Up to make stuff, so I hope that provides some insight. And now we move to an interview with one of my personal friends cosplaying Andy. I will also put his social media links down below, where he was able to give me insight on how they've improved over years and stuff like that, because he has been buying suits from them from the beginning, and he has multiple suits, so he was one of the best people I could have possibly interviewed to see if they have improved their quality, improved their customer service, and everything like that. So without further ado, let's let Andy talk about his experiences. So how did you start cosplaying, and how did you start cosplaying as Spider-Man?
Kind of how I started cosplaying was my friend kind of pulled me into it. My first one I went to was Anime Weekend Atlanta, and then my second one, I had a trip planned over to California. I had a free weekend, and literally 30 minutes before I was about to leave, I found out that they had LA Comic-Con going on. So going from like a small one to an extra large one, solo across the country. For me, cosplay was kind of a way of expressing myself. Why Spider-Man? He was my late brother's superhero. So for me, it's my little way of kind of carrying on that story. This is kind of my way of getting out and kind of meeting with people, and then also kind of pushes myself in the gym.
When did you start buying from Suit Up, and what suits do you have from them?
I have Miles, I have a few advanced suits, I have Far From Home, Brand New Day, TASM 2, and then I have a few more in order. So I have their TASM 1 suit coming, also the Civil War, and then kind of a custom one coming later.
So you have quite the catalog of their suits. You could definitely attest to how they've been over the years, stuff like that, which I'm very excited to get into in a bit. For each suit, about how long did it take?
The suits definitely took a long period to make. Some of that comes down to the quality and everything as well. So these aren't suits where you're going to basically like, hey, I'm going to order it today and it'll be like here in a month. It's definitely going to take an extended period of time to make. I will say that has, with them over a period of time, I've noticed it's come down. One of the big noticeable things I think is they seem to have brought their screen printing side in-house. So they don't have the ability to doing that themselves. My understanding is before they were kind of going out to do it, which I think really limited some of their capabilities, and then also led to that more extended timelines of things. Like the early ones definitely took like maybe 6 to 9 months per se. They were definitely improving on terms of like the turnaround times and everything, but these are not suits that you're going to say, hey, I'm going to just jump into it, or hey, I need it next month. These are, hey, I'm going to give you time to make it right, make it perfect. That's kind of when you're going into, you kind of have to have that mindset of things.
When you received your suits, how was the quality of them?
Yeah, so the suits themselves, I mean, these aren't your simple dye sublimation suits. They're very complex. So they're all screen printed on color fabric. So when you stretch them, you know, they look amazing. In terms of like durability, that color itself always kind of shows through. That is never something I'm always kind of worried about. And some of the poses, like I'll stretch them, I'll put them to limits. So I've done extra crazy adventures with them. When I did New York Comic Con this last year, I literally flew in the costume. So I put on the costume, went to Atlanta and got a picture the cockpit with the pilot, which was awesome. And then spent the entire day doing photo shoots. But I've also done other things where like, hey, I've gone to Universal on it, gone to Disney World, Disneyland on it. I don't mind kind of like really pushing myself on that. And the suits, they hold up generally well. Generally speaking, when you're kind of looking at this level of suits, there is some maintenance that you have to anticipate as well. So occasionally you'll have a seam pop here or there. And a lot of it is basically like, how do you maintain that? The quality of the garment itself, if you look at the stitches on it, they are generally triple stitched, but everything has its limits. For me, I'm like, I don't mind like jumping on a roller coaster with it. I've done that. I've done all the crazy poses. Go through my Instagram and you definitely kind of, I'd see that I've gotten to the point where I'm actually doing some more, let's say, acrobatic ones, where I've gone to Santa Monica Pier and decided to hang upside down. So the suits can definitely kind of hold up with time, but like I said, there's a limit to things and you have to maintain them. So and then there are things that you're gonna have to glue things over here and there, and that's expected with this. There is actual physical limitations that it's nothing that they've done. It's literally, hey, this is a hard problem. The screen printing has been okay for the most part. Some of my older suits, like the first advanced suit I had where I've worn it so much, I'm starting to have some spots where it's starting to show some wear, particularly on one of my knees. When you see the Spider-Man poses and everything, like my knee will be a full 90 degrees underneath me, and when you're walking and everything. So it's starting to get here and there. It's really not noticeable in a lot of the photos. Definitely used it quite a bit. I think the first year I did 12 or 13 different conventions and such. So I definitely kind of put through its paces.
And would you say that the quality, like the stitching work itself, the screen quality itself, all of that, has that improved over time?
Yeah, so over their suits, I've definitely noticed kind of an improvement in quality of things. The other thing I would highly suggest is like when you get a suit, don't immediately say I'm going to go to convention and wear it for a day or so. It sounds crazy, but like wear it at home for a day. And part of that is because they're so tight fitting, it needs to stretch to conform to your body. Maintenance on them, like I said, it varies between suits. For instance, the Miles suit is strictly a screen printed suit. I also recognize that was an early suit, and I had an issue where I had to basically redo the shoes, and the shoes was fine, and the glue adhesive they used failed. I gave them feedback, and I've noticed that on their newer suits that you don't have that problem, and that's something that you don't generally recognize from a short term but long term. So for me, that's like, hey, doing 12, 13 events a year, like, hey, that's quite a bit. I'm walking whole day in that. That's kind of like the repairability I've had to do on like that suit before. It's not a huge deal. It's not their fault necessarily. The advanced suit's kind of interesting. So the advanced suit itself, like if you look at my hands, also my chest and back, the white spider, that's a separate element that's overlaid onto it, that's glued on. And the biggest problem I had with that is I had to reglue it a couple times. I've gotten to the point where I know how to handle that and everything. That's not their fault. That is from a material standpoint, it is really hard to glue on that because you have that rubber piece is a separate one that doesn't really stretch as much. And then underneath that, you have the fabric that does stretch. And then your warm body inside of it that's moist. That is basically the glue itself has to take up that stretch difference that's there. So what ends up happening then is it basically deteriorates over time. So I've had to reglue that, and it's really hard because like the little tips of the white legs on the spider, those are thin. So I've had to reglue those, I think 2 or 3 times so far, but I finally got it nailed down. The big thing is like the little tips. A little pro tip I found with that one, by the way, if anyone does have that suit, is you can get some, forget what it's exactly called, but it's like super thin white thread. And what I've done is I added a teeny tiny little stitch, 2 little stitches to the tips of those. That's enough to keep those down so they prevent it from starting to peel at all, but they don't show up in any photos. And when you look at something like the Far From Home suit, that's a little bit different. That one is where I think they did a real step up in quality on certain things. Instead of having the rubber be a separate part, and they did be accurate on that one. So if you look at the advanced suit, it's a raised element. On the Far From Home suit, it's a flush element. And for that, what they end up doing is the rubber pieces they see on the front of me and then around the back, those are actual rubber pieces. They're literally sewn in as a structural element of the suit. So that's something that's going to last for a long time. And they're sewn in, you can't see them or anything. It is really remarkable what they did on that one. So that one is like, that's going to be perfect long term. But in terms of like maintenance, the other thing is you want to make sure you're washing them. And these suits are not something that you wash normally. What you need to do is you need to wash it, but you can't rub it is the big thing. So rubbing it would basically deteriorate faster, that screen print, or just take it off to actually do that. And it's a lot of soaking is what your technique is. So that's kind of like the maintenance items I would do.
How was their customer service? Do you feel like they took care of you? Were they responding to you quickly? How was that entire process for your entire time working from them?
So that's always kind of an interesting thing. You have to put in the mindset of this is they're a small company. So like when they first started, I think it was like 1 or 2 people, and I'm not sure how big they are now. There's always kind of a limit when you're small. And I like that they're small because you can work with them a little bit more. They're more flexible and keep that high quality up. But the thing that you kind of look at is it's not going to be like the big box shops where you say, hey, I need a refund, and they give it to you immediately or whatnot. They don't have those margins there. And the same with customer service. So primarily the most of the interactions I had when we were on Instagram, I think they kind of diversified a little bit now, which is really, I'm glad to see. But yeah, in the beginning, it was a little bit rougher. I gave them suggestions on that and basically saying is, hey, reach out to them knowing that, hey, the shipping and everything, and there might be some, let's say, miscommunications. A lot of times I basically say, hey, can you do me a favor before you ship it out? Send me pictures. They started doing that now more. So, but before I basically get the suit, I'll say, hey, send me the pictures. A lot of that basically helped a lot to understand is, hey, does this match what I ordered? Is they've also improved on the other things where they added some processes in. So I basically told them to say, hey, can we do like a proper invoice or whatever? And I've noticed that, and that's helped a lot. Definitely a difference in cultures you have to think of as well. They're also learning. Working with them, they did vastly improved over time in that respect, which I'm very much pleased to see.
And did you receive everything that you ordered in your orders?
So that's an interesting thing. So that kind of goes back to that customer service question. It's kind of that aftercare you're looking at. So first of all, there's always going to be some mistakes. And I remember like in the early suits where there was a miscommunication. I mismeasured my face shell, and that turned into a big problem. But I also recognized that, hey, that's my mistake. And I worked with them to basically fix that. There's other things where, hey, I would order this, and then there'll be a misinterpretation. The early days, hey, there would be more room for that. But I've noticed as time goes on, like I said, greatly improve that. For instance, now I don't have much problems. A lot of it is, hey, that photo is a big thing for me. So I ask them, hey, send me that photo. And that's basically kind of like the review beforehand. So in that photo, I generally look for is, hey, does it have the zippers I requested? Or hey, does it have attached, detached mask? A lot of times I would verify they put tags on everything, which are really cool. Is they basically have the suit up and they basically say like the size usually. I recognize that shipping from international, which is out of their control, can be quite costly. For me, because I've had so many suits and I have more suits on order with them, it's a little bit easier to say, hey, I recognize that, hey, the little mistake, I'm okay with this. So having that, I think, working relationship helps a lot, but no one's perfect. And as long as they're willing to work with me, I think that's great.
Did you receive what was advertised to you?
Yeah, so for me, what I expected from their quality and everything, I did receive that. And like I said, I expected kind of that high end and everything, and I definitely received that. I never had any real major issues.
Would you recommend to others to purchase from SuitUp?
Yes, but I'll have a caveat to that. The caveat for me is I would definitely not start out with SuitUp. If you're brand new to cosplay, I would definitely kind of learn what you like and dislike. So some of these things, like when you look at it, the silhouette of having an attached mask looks amazing, but there's also drawbacks to it. So for me, if I had an attached mask, I can't do some items that I've done. I can't go to Universal. I can't go to Disney World. I can't go to Disneyland. Those are all places where they require you to, show your face. It kind of comes down to that. There's other things that you'll learn as a cosplayer, like, hey, I want wrist zippers, or I don't want wrist zippers, or ankle zippers. I would also say that another caveat is their suits are expensive. They demand a certain price, and their quality does show that. I would not say, hey, you want to push yourself absolutely to that. I know a lot of people, it's like, it's good to save for it. I would say that, but I wouldn't put yourself in debt for it. My background's a mechanical engineer. I make engineering money. I'm not going to be shameful of that. I worked my butt off in school. It's not about the costume. It's about having fun and what you can do with it. That's the big thing for me is you need to kind of recognize your own limits and is this what you really want? But you also have to recognize that you probably want to start with our suits first so you can make those mistakes where you understand is, hey, this works for me, this doesn't work for me.
Once again, thank you so much to Andy for sharing your experience. It was very insightful to see how they've improved over a couple of years. And now let's move on to the final testimony that I was able to get from Boy Carson, who is another Spider-Man YouTuber. He was an influencer that has worked with Suit Up, so I was able to get his side of the story just so that way I could compare it with other people's experiences. So thank you so much to Boy Carson for giving me your testimony, so that way we could compare how the influencer experience is to the normal customer experience other than my own. I will leave all of his social links down below. You should follow him. He's a great guy, very wholesome, and just super kind-hearted. So here's his testimony.
Hi, my name is Boy Carson. I've bought multiple suits from Suit Up. Started with the 1.0 No Way Home Final Swingsuit, and then the 2.0, and then the Advanced Suit 2.0. The 1.0 No Way Home Final Swingsuit came at a timely manner. That was my first ever premium Spider-Man suit, so I was really excited about it. Came in like 4 to 6 weeks, which is expected, barely any wait time. And then the 2.0 Final Swingsuit came pretty quickly as well. I think the one that I waited the longest was the Advanced Suit 2.0. That one I waited over 300-400 days, I think. Every single suit that I got from Suit Up is an experience. It's a treat for a Spider-Man fan because when you open it up, that burst of paint just blows into your nose. It smells really good because it's so brand new. When you feel the texture of a Suit Up suit, you know it's quality. And putting it on, I always like it. I think it fits very well because we give them information about our measurements, and so they take that into consideration. And then for the face shell, it's great too because the shape is perfect. They do their research. And the mid frames, yeah, it makes it customizable so that you can be holding on to a fabric mask with the lenses on the mask. So quality-wise, I really never had a problem. It can take a little long putting on the suit though. Sometimes I could do it myself. I feel like as I gotten more suits, the design changes and it just makes it a little bit more tedious to put it on by myself. The suits hold up great. I've had my 1.0 Final Swing suit for about 3 years now, and I gotta say, I still wear it to birthday parties. I still do flips in them. Yeah, maybe there's like a little rip on the bottom of the shoe, but it's really not a big deal because I do a lot of stunts and I do a lot of flips in the suit, so it's understandable. But otherwise, quality, it holds up very well. So I actually discovered the Suit Up team before they became Suit Up. So I bought plenty of products from them. And so because of that, I got, a really good communication system with them. If I have any problems, if I have any questions, they usually reach out rather quickly. Always within the same day, but sometimes they're busy making suits and that could take a little while. But right now I, talk to the Suit Up team and also individuals, and they provide very good information and give me really good reference photos and hype for the suits. I think for my 2.0 No Way Home Final Swingsuit, I mentioned that I wanted glossy and fog-free lenses, but I think I only got the glossy lenses. So that was slightly concerning just because I can't really do birthday parties in glossy lenses because it's really hard to see. It fogs up, and if I can't see, I might accidentally bump into a kid. Luckily, I was able to use one of my other fog-free lenses from my other previous suits. So I guess, when you're ordering suits, it's always good to make sure that you have them send you pictures of everything that's coming in. Or else, if you miss a pretty critical piece of the suit, it could be a bit problematic. For my first ever 1.0 No Way Home Final Swingsuit, I saw the video that they posted on Instagram. It was from Batsy Studios back then. It looked really cool, but when I got the suit, it actually looked even cooler. I think it was the lighting that they used, but it didn't look as shiny. But when I opened my suit, it was like, bro, this is the most premium thing I've ever seen. In a way, it was actually more cool than I thought, especially for the Advanced Suit 2.0. When I put on that suit, it really transformed me into the Insomniac world. And when people saw the suit, they they were freaking out because it was so freaking textural. It was so shiny under the light. It was so shiny under the sunlight, and everyone's expectations were blown away, and especially for the fans that were watching for my Advanced Suit 2.0. I would say if you are buying from SuitUp, there's a couple of things that you need to understand before you do that. The first thing is you need to be fully grown first, because these are very expensive suits, guys. Like, you don't want to be a kid and buy a premium Spider-Man suit for $1,000, because when you grow up, it's not going to fit you anymore, and that you don't want to waste something that, you know, precious. And the second thing is understand that they are getting better. They're upsizing their factory. So any like negative comment you've heard from them, they're learning from their mistakes and they are getting better. And with customer service, I heard that they already shipped out like 30 Spider-Man Brand New Day suits. So that is efficiency at its finest. Trust in them. They know that they are getting better and that they need to get better, because if they want to grow as a business, they have to listen to the customers. And if they don't, if they always like delay and stuff, nobody's gonna buy their suits. When you get the suits, oh my gosh, like if it fits you like a glove, you won the jackpot. Like, it's so good. It's almost worth the money that you paid for. I say that because I spent a lot of money on these Spider-Man suits doing reviews for my fans on YouTube, and just be ready to get mind blown when you receive it.
Once again, thank you so much, Owlboy Carson, for sharing that with me. And I am really sorry that they didn't ship the lenses that you wanted. And it is good insight to know how the influencer experience went for, since I'm an influencer technically myself, another influencer. Now, unfortunately, everyone else I've reached out to for statements that had even worse experiences with SuitUp never actually got me a video or anything like that. So I can't exactly provide too much, which really sucks, because I've been told stories about people who are missing items in their product and just very bad customer experiences. So unfortunately, I can't speak on those experiences because they weren't provided to me to provide in this video, but I am going to let you guys know that there have been people that have been missing stuff from SuitUp that did not have a good experience. As far as I know, they got everything that they needed to get that they purchased, but it did have to wait around for them to actually send it to them. So that is unfortunate. I'm very sorry for everyone who had a bad experience. And another funny thing I want to mention, so back a couple years ago when I wanted to make my original video on SuitUp, I did message other influencers and I either got silenced, I might have just been in message request hell, and there were a few influencers that did respond to me, and it was mostly no comment. That's a little suspicious to me, because if you're working with the company and you're not on like an NDA or anything like that where you can't disclose a whole lot of stuff, where you can still be honest with me and be honest about your experience, that is a little weird as an influencer myself. But to be fair, I don't do this as a full-time job. I do have a full-time job, so I don't rely on this stuff for my income. So I am fortunate in that manner, but it's still a little odd. Even if you do this as a job, you need to prioritize honesty above everything else. So I don't know why these influencers weren't willing to give me a comment. So that's everything I have, other than one video provided to me by an anonymous source that showed someone's Facebook experience that was shared with them. So in summary, they did wait quite a few years for their suits and did have to go through a whole rigmarole. So this is the worst experience I have to show. So you can go ahead and pause so that way you can read up on it. I'm going to show the full clip here. But it is unfortunate that that person did have a bad experience, and that is some of the stories that I have been told by some other people. So with all that being said, all those interviews, all those testimonies that I've been given, what is my stance on SuitUp?
It's complicated,
It
right?
is.
It's complicated.
Uncomplicated.
So yes, I was given a good quality suit, and the problems with it were small. And they did reach out to me about the mask from my criticism and Tommy's criticism in part 1, and they are willing to send me another mask. So that's pretty cool. We'll see if they actually send it to me or not. I'm not going to count on it. I hope they do keep true to their word, so we'll find out if they do. But it seems they are taking criticism, that they are listening to other customers' experiences. And at one time they weren't, because like I said at the beginning of the video, they have self-admitted to me that they were not good at being businessmen. So there is accountability there to their past mistakes. It makes it hard for me to bash them because I can't. They gave me a good suit. Other people have been getting good suits lately, and they have been getting better communication. Could it be better? Absolutely. I could have been provided better photos of my brand new day suit than they did provide. They could have responded to me a little better, but it is an improvement, and they're going to continue to improve. At least I hope. So my final verdict, if you want to buy from them, that's on you. but go for it. I have my code down below, Kira5, where you get 5% off of your suit from them if you put that in the order notes, which in order to order from them, you do have to follow their Instagram, and they do post on their Instagram stories. And I wish they would update their website with this stuff so that way you could do it a lot easier. But if you do order from them, code Kira5 does get you 5% off your purchase, and it does get a commission back to me. And if there's enough orders, I do get free suits from them. I just want to be transparent about that. As far as I'm aware, their suits have gotten better. So their suits are better quality than RPC Studios, which is their more direct competition, because they're $150 more for a base suit than RPC Studios. And the other replica individual makers like Spider Labs, like Elfette, are thousands of dollars more expensive. Spider Labs, around $1,000 more expensive for everything that I got. But they do have a lot of work to do in order to repair their reputation with the community. And I have been there because I have made mistakes. I've talked about in my final Iron Man video how I had a lot of personal issues I had to work through, and a lot of people that I let down personally, where I had to work, and it may not be able to be enough to basically forgive some of those mistakes. Same thing with suitup. So as much as they've been improving, there's still a lot more work to do to repair their reputation with some people, if that's even possible. So yes, while I do think their quality has improved, their customer service has improved, and that I haven't heard any horror stories that are recent, and most of the horror stories I heard were from like a year or so ago. They are a new company, two people who don't know too much about business itself that just kind of want to make stuff. And I have seen the passion. They have told me their favorite suits. They have told me what they've been working on, and they have admitted to fault. So it makes it so hard for me to say no. But my final verdict is go for it if you feel they have improved. If you feel that you do think you're going to get a great quality suit, because what I got was great, and everybody else I've been seeing as of recent have been getting good quality suits. And as long as they continue to improve their customer service, their quality, go for it. But if you want to wait around for them to try and improve things further, that's also great. And if you don't want to order from them at all because of their past mistakes, valid. This is just my verdict. So I hope you found this video informative and helped you make a buying decision on it. Like I said, all the links to suitup will be down below if you decide to buy from them, as well as my other social media links down below, like Instagram, like TikTok, and all of that if you want to check those out and support me. But yeah, with all of that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, whatever. And until the next video, where I basically make some videos on some horse girls, because I've been in that autism for Uma Musume for the past, I don't know, like 6 months now. Whatever project I'm working on that I'm gonna be very vague about, but I have some stuff in the works that I'm very excited to share with you when it's done. And until next time, go touch grass in a good quality Spider-Man suit, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, love yourselves, goodbye.